Welcome to this micro INSET on Mindomo. Mindomo is an online mind mapping tool which is incredibly useful for getting students to create online mind maps, which they can also turn into presentations. It's particularly useful for when students are planning large essays or where they're revising topics. Clearly this has the most application for humanities subjects, but I think it can also be used for sciences and maths if you are looking for students to be able to connect different bits of knowledge together. So today we're going to cover three main things: individual student use of Mindomo for essay planning and revision, how you can mark a Mindomo that your students have created, and how groups can use individual Mindomos collaboratively. So let's go onto the website first of all. So this is the website. You'll notice that you can also access it through all these different platforms. One thing to notice is that if you just sign up directly through the website, you'll get only quite a limited number of mind maps that you can create before they start asking you to pay. So if you're willing to pay as an individual department, that's fine. But what I actually did was I created my account originally on the iPad. It was free, but it seemed to give me unlimited numbers of mind maps that I can create and view. So that's probably the canniest way of doing things. If you want to create one for now, then maybe don't use the email address that you plan to use in the future. So use a personal account just for now, and then set up using your iPad or your Android device later, the main one that you want to use. Okay, so you've logged into Mindomo. Students do the same, they simply sign up for Mindomo as individuals. The easiest thing to get them to use is their school email address when they sign up. And everybody when they sign up gets a page that looks like this. And the first thing you're going to want your students to do is to create a basic mind map. So click on Create, we'll call it something. These are the ones I use most often, just blank basic mind maps. Some of them prefer these organigrams because they look a little bit more organised. It's worth noting over here, however, that you've actually got fancy versions as well. These are particularly the useful ones, obviously. It's worth having a look at these a bit later in your own time because they're already tailored to the demands of your subject. So you might want to use one of those. I haven't used any of those yet, however. So you click on this, and this is your basic Mindomo. It's really intuitive. It's got very, very few buttons. You can teach yourself how to use it in a matter of minutes. But essentially, we would just change this to whatever title of our essay is. This top right-hand corner button is the main thing you want to do. So you simply insert subtopics. And insert subtopics again. And it's simply creating a mind map that's linking all of the ideas together. Once you've got those, you can colour code them. So you've got lots of different options up here about whether you want the first branch to be in red. You can change the font. You can change the themes. You can change the shapes of the bubbles, etc. But I also quite like relationship arrows, which once you've got a whole big mind map and you want to start inserting relationships between the different bubbles, that's also really, really useful for connecting up ideas as well. So students can make these. That can be a homework task. Once they've made it, what you want them to do is to share it with you. So if we go back into the test, here's the button that says share, and they simply enter the email address. Your school email address is the most useful one to share this with you. A shared mind map will appear in your account here. So here's some examples of my fourth form that had a prep and that shared this with me. So sharing it is the same as handing it in, obviously, as a piece of homework. And what you can do is you can comment on how well they've done. So if we thought that this was a reasonably good point, but they could have expanded on it, then we simply do add comments to this. We can Facebook like or dislike that if we want to, but we can put a comment in here, comment on this topic, press return, and there you'll see that it appears as a little bubble for them to read later. So they click on this, they can see that it was you who commented and this is what you said. So it's a different way of marking formatively their mind map. This is a particularly beautiful one made by Charlie. So that is a student creating a mind map, sharing it with you, and you marking it. One of the most fun and interesting things you can do with Mindomo, I have found, is the collaborative task. So rather than them creating the initial mind map, you create it. So if we have a look at one that's in its very early stages, this is a piece of prep that's being worked on at the moment. You simply set up the skeleton. You can put as much or as little detail in as you want. Here's an essay that's just been started on an A-level piece of coursework. Students are adding their thoughts, but they can do this collaboratively. All you have to do is set up the basic and then click share, and you'll see that this is already shared with my lower sixth, and their task is to add something each to it, which they've just started to do. They can do this all at the same time. If they do, then all their little icons, their little pictures, appear along the bottom here, and you can see who is editing what. It's usually best done with older students, probably fifth form upwards, otherwise students get a little bit distracted and overexcited by it. These can turn out to be very, very detailed and incredibly useful. Let's have a look at a good one. There we go. This is one which was made by an upper sixth class in a lesson. This probably took them just over an hour to do, so about a double period. So once you've taught the topic and they're getting ready to write their essay, here's their essay title, How Satisfactory is the End of the Tempest, and they've got to compare that with another play. There's a lot of information to handle. So rather than asking the student in the early stages of the course to plan that entire thing themselves, they can just be given responsibility for planning a particular element of it. So for example, a student is given control of the idea of justice, which I put in there for them. Then they look at justice in the first play. How is it presented? Where's the evidence? And then how's it presented in the second play, and where's the evidence? And this is where this idea of relationship links come in. You can see these red lines that they've put in later. Once they've looked at what everybody else has produced, transformation, punishment, order, magic, etc. Once they've looked at all of those, they start seeing connections between what they wrote and what other people wrote. So here they've clearly noticed that transformation is being used as a form of punishment, so they're actually connecting up their ideas there. So, Mindomo can be used by individual students as part of their own essay planning and revision. You can mark it, and most excitingly, they can work collaboratively, either from their own homes or in the same classroom, on a task and create something really impressive. Why not give it a go?